everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Lady Heard. I'm Sylvia, and today I will be your host. I'm here today with Segolan and Shaida. Say hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
We will delve into something that I'm sure a lot of you have experienced: digital addiction. So, some time ago, I stumbled across several videos on YouTube where especially millennials and Gen Z people were screaming for a return to analog devices in favor of a slower pace of life. One of my favorite inspirational YouTubers, Click for Taz, vulnerably shared her reflections on camera. She's decided to live for a week fully or almost analogically. And what came out of this experiment was a lot of nostalgia for childhood times and self consciousness. In fact, especially for the 90s former kids, technology can be a sharp sword. On one side, it is beneficial because we can keep in touch with our friends, look for information online in seconds, and access educational content also outside of a physical room. But on the other hand, it can feel overwhelming to keep up with. New trends, new Gen AI prompts, new scandals and findings like the Grok one. Like everything is just like boom. So, ladies, time to be heard. How do you honestly feel about today's technologies?
It has pros and cons. And regarding the pros, personally, technology is important for us to stay connected and informed, to keep up with our activities, both at a personal and professional level. Like, we need our phones to pay our bills, we need our computer to get our job done. The cons, though, is that we may not know how and when to put a limit to it. So, to what extent it can still be beneficial? And this is the question we should start asking ourselves so we don't get addicted or too addicted to technology.
I fully agree with you. I think it can be a really nice tool, but unfortunately, sometimes we cannot become a slave to it. We are not, in charge of the relationship. The addiction is taking over. But we are all immigrants, so we're far away from our family, so we cannot need it as well. And like some social media that I would really love to be able to live without, I cannot have to, because now you cannot, when you are in filmmaking, you cannot have to have like your portfolio on social media as well. So I can't do without it as well. But yeah, there is pros and cons, like in everything. I tend to see a lot of things gray, and the technology for me is really gray. There is good thing and bad thing, like Shaida say. And I think it's just getting the power back to ourselves, so can not being addicted, but being the ones that are using the tools and not becoming enslaved to it is really important.
Yes, I fully understand like both of your points of view, and I do relate with, we need to have them to keep up with our families, especially because the three of us are living abroad, so not everything is accessible and not everyone is like in an immediate proximity. I must admit that while I'm grateful for some aspects of technology like instant messaging, my dear ones, for example, especially as an expat, as I was just mentioning, I hate all these inputs and notifications. I am fully conscious that social media and smartphones were originally and purposefully designed to keep us hooked, as also Jonathan Haidt mentioned in his book The Anxious Generation, which is a book that I finished reading some time ago, and it basically depicts the skyrocketing levels of anxiety that we got as the generations that had to do with technology a lot when we were teenagers, and then young adults, and now like that we are like in our late 20s, early 30s. And I find myself, to be honest, quite distracted by all these pings and numbers that they're giving micro shots of dopamine. And I miss the times when I could just leave my phone in a corner and peacefully concentrating on a book without a video sound in the background. Like, it's just so annoying. How do you manage like all these sounds and like musical inputs, let's say?
Honestly, my phone is always in vibration. I never like really have sound for the notification because I get really distracted. But really, I need sound, so I always like need music or a background to work, or I'm going crazy as well, which is really weird. But I don't like small noises like notification. It's kind of really bothering me and taking me in a way that is really weird. So I never have my sound on for my notification. So I'm not that impacted by it.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sego. In my case, my phone is always on silent mode, which is good and bad. I mean, when I lose it in the house, it's terrible, but um, throughout my day,
I relate.
it's really good. Yeah, girls, really. Oh la la. So, but during the day, I think it's really good because that's how I stay focused. You know, I just try to get all the distractions out of my way. So my phone will be on silence mode. I won't be on, I don't know, WhatsApp web or whatever when I'm using my computer because otherwise I will be checking or talking with people that deserve to receive better attention when I'm fully in it, to answer. Now, when I'm multitasking, perhaps they won't receive the same level of attention, and I don't like that. So I prefer to perhaps delay a message and answer properly than answer right away just for the sake of saying that the person got an answer from me, for example. And I'm not really into social media much. I don't post very often. I use my Instagram more to stay in touch with my friends, my family, and promote my work. That's pretty much how I manage those musical distractions in my life.
I love what you just say because I'm someone that I feel really guilty when I don't answer to someone really quickly. So I feel the need to answer really quickly. But I love the fact that you say that, when you're busy, you can give a 100% of your intention. And I think it might rewire my brain correctly. So thank you.
I mean, we're all adults.
Yeah.
We have so much going on, right? So it's life.
I do relate with anxiety related to the speed of how fast I reply and everything. So yeah, it's something I try to improve. I will probably need to work on it better. Contemporary devices are ideated to create a sort of addiction. And I remember seeing probably 3 or 4 years ago an image, ironically on social media, where they basically equal the size of a smartphone screen to the level of hook reached. If we think about the Nokia 3310 phones, the brick phones for excellence, they didn't have many features and they had quite a very small display. The most fun you could have was playing Snake, and for the older millennials, make the phone ring only one time to let your crush know you were thinking of them. I didn't do that, but I know people have. So, not many people could afford having a personal device back then because they were expensive depending on where you live. So, ladies, what was your first personal tech device? Can be a computer, a phone, or a PlayStation, anything.
Well, nostalgia just kicked in.
Yeah.
In my case, no, really. In my case, it was an old Nokia mobile phone that I use it more to play the Snake game than actually to contact anyone. And perhaps this is still in my. I might still have it if I really look for it. Not here, but back in my mom's. I think it's still there, yeah.
You say personal, right? Not the family personal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think my really first that I remember was the Tamagotchi, but it didn't really do anything. That was the first thing I had. I got a phone quite late. Well, not that late, but I know that I was the last one among my friends to have a phone. remember what my first one was, but I do remember the ones that I love and I like. I really asked my parents, but I don't remember the name. But it was, you know, the one that would that you would take that way and like you would
Go
like.
up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that
Like
one.
the
I remember
BlackBerry
it was
kind
not.
of.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what?
I think there was a BlackBerry model
No,
that
the
was
BlackBerry
similar
was
to
on the
the.
same. Oh, there was a version on the BlackBerry, I think, but it was.
I think I know what you're talking about because I
It
had it,
wasn't
but
my
yeah.
first one. It was the one that really marked me. I don't remember my first phone, but that's the phone that I remember the most from my childhood.
For me, I mean, speaking of devices, the first technological device wasn't personal. Like I had a computer when I was 6, but it was like the family one, so it was kind of exceptional at the time. We had one in the living room for the whole family, of course. We also had a printer, which was not something that everyone had. But my first independent device was probably a portable CD player and
Oh,
a flip phone. You know, the one that you could open,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Motorola?
It was Nokia. Nokia. I
The
love
pink
Nokia.
one?
No, I had a white one. It was a Nokia thingy, a flip phone though. Yeah, but I remember like I was enjoying both of them because well, the first one because I could listen to my favorite artists' CDs even when I was on holidays, and the Nokia because I mean Nokia had already a good brand statuses back then, and because you could attach like a keychain, you could like personalize your Bluetooth display or whatever it was called back then. And I put an anime one because I was watching anime at the time and I was like, I feel so cool by having my anime screenplay on it. So yeah, that was my lovely first relationship with tech devices. And do you have any anecdote to share about your childhood relationship with tech devices now that we're into it?
I just remember like playing PlayStation on 1 or 2 at my nanny's house with one of this son. And I play also with my cousin on the PlayStation 1 or 2. And he would let me win because he was way older than me. That's the only thing I remember. And that really marked me.
In my case, the first thing that came to my head is technically not a device, it's a tool, but anyway. So when I was a kid and I started using PowerPoint, I had no idea which purpose it served. I had no idea it was to create presentations. So instead of preparing high level PPTs, I was using it to get like cute banners for my parents or even leather sheets for my collection, you know. And yeah, kind of stupid but still cute at the same time.
That's so
That's
cute.
cute.
I like it.
That's cute. For me, I was having so much fun playing pinball on the computer. I don't know
Oh,
if you guys
yeah.
remember this game. Yes. And also, I really like playing with word art. So, another tool, Word, but not PowerPoint. And yeah, because I really love the fonts and everything. And I think, to be fair, I don't know about how was your experience, but um, I think in my case, we were having very basics IT classes in primary schools, but the teachers didn't know much how to use computers because it was all new to them too. So, in a way, technology was seen as complementary to people and not the other way around, as it might happen now. But how was your experience in this case with also like, you know, technology at school and yeah, how was it for you girls?
In my case, I must admit that I really learned. I mean, at school, I learned. I had a good teacher, and she was nice, and we went through all potential tools we could. I remember also took some course apart before I had this teacher, so I had a good foundation, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't mark me that much, but I think we had quite a young teacher, so he was able to explain us clearly. He wasn't struggling or anything. But it didn't mark me that much. It's crazy. I don't have any memory of those classes. So I guess it went well.
Yeah, or either the teachers were bad or like you were just meant to
Yeah.
develop your tech skills after. If there was a possibility to issue a bill for the time and attention stolen, I'd probably send it to the big tech companies. A couple of years ago, in fact, I was feeling particularly negative and I decided to delete some apps from my phone and to limit the time I was spending on it because I noticed not only that it had become an extension of myself and I was catching myself using it way too much, but also that it had impacted my mood. And I did it for a month and a half during summertime, and I filled my time with other pastimes such as crosswords, books, drawing, and if I needed to meet friends, I was using the normal text messages. I felt better, but I knew that because I will spend most of the time abroad, instant messaging and other social media apps would have been useful to keep up with my dear ones' lives. So eventually, I had to reinstall the apps that I had deleted. And this experience gave me insight on how addicted I was to the phone. And every now and then, I will do an app slash phone break if I can, especially if I'm back home and I'm not in need of constant checking. But in retrospect, it is scary though, because yes, we are wasting less paper, but at the same time, we can have everything on our smartphones from the banking app to music to government services. So if there's a hacker attack or systems are down, we are screwed. So, ladies, I want to ask you one last question. What is your current relationship with digital devices and what do you expect to happen in the future?
I think I have moments where I'm more addicted than others. When I'm more anxious, I think my brain needs the dopamine, so I'm more addicted and I'm more like scrolling or anything, which is really bad because it doesn't help me. So I need to be conscious of it. So when I'm really stressed and really anxious, I need to really control myself more in my relationship with my phone. But when I feel better, I'm way more creative, so I'm always writing, reading, or watching a series, and watching a movie that I love on TV, and so I'm not on my phone anymore, which is great. For what I want for the future, God, it's not gonna happen. But
Wow, we're all doomed. Okay, I got
yeah,
it.
no, I don't think the tech company will get a SAL or a moral compass anytime soon and make it safer for everyone.
Well, even though I would like to avoid using technology, I think I can recognize that we are dependent on it. And as I said, when it comes to social media apps in particular, I try to limit them as much as I can. The only reason why I still have them is to stay in touch with my family, my friends, to promote my work. Other than that, I honestly think they can be just a waste of time, especially if you don't know when to stop checking them. But here, I must disagree. Do not delete the apps. Leave the temptations there because that's how you need to do the work and master yourself to control, you know? Like, you need to have the temptation to learn deeply that you don't need to go there and stay scrolling, have a to-do list. You have your stuff, you have your activities, you have your responsibilities. The less you check those notifications or you go on the apps to perhaps procrastinating, it's gonna be worse, because then you feel more anxious, and then you feel like also that the things that you organize yourself to do that day will just be piling up. Personally, I wouldn't say delete the apps. I would say learn how to control yourself. Also, I think we should remind ourselves that technology is meant to complement us, not really replace us. So, social media does not replace the need for a real social life. That's important. AI cannot and should not do all your paperwork, homework, or thesis writing, right? And we might think that this era of globalization has connected us all, and I disagree, because we can see economic and social differences. I think that became more highlighted, right? Not everyone has a phone or a computer, in many cases, not even access to the internet. And we should keep this in mind and feel empathy for those who don't have the same access to technology. Technology has connected us, but it has highlighted those differences, especially social and economic ones. And it also made us lazier, because everything is just so convenient. So if you can do it yourself, do the old fashioned way, just try.
I do agree with you that actually, like, um, there's a need of control oneself, one's impulses to check notifications and everything. And that is why I think in some cases, like, I don't have screen time because I don't have an iPhone, but I know there are like tools that literally stop you from doing whatever you're doing because you have been reached the limits of the day. And that's a solution that I think if somebody is lacking control might help. Like I put a timer to the apps that I was mostly addicted to, which weren't any of the social media, by the way. They were like more the social messaging ones. So in a way to stop myself to check too much, and yeah, like it worked, to be honest, for some time. Maybe I should install it again. It is a dopamine because these devices like smartphones and everything like were designed, as I said before, also to keep us hooked. So they were purposefully created for it. We fell victim to a thing that was created because of its addiction. If I were to say what is my current relationship with digital devices and what I expect to happen in the future, well, my current relationship is complicated. As I mentioned, I cannot fully unplug, especially when I live abroad. But I'm noticing that after those experiments, I have a little less anxiety. And if I want to take my time to read a book, cook, or be more in the moment, I will do it and I will leave my phone somewhere else, like in another room, my bed, whatever. But, I will be able to do that. And if I were to mention about the future, well, the future to me is a bit bleak. I am aware that there will always be new technologies, as also you, Shaila, were mentioning, and that we will always need to learn and we will forcibly have to adapt to them, or at least have a middle level of knowledge about them. However, I do hope that the tech race reaches a point in time where it is ethically built and it no longer chases profit. Utopic, I know, but hopefully we are gonna go into this direction. Because the business logic is that the more your creation is known and sponsored, the more money you have, but hardly ever we question whether it is addictive or actually useful, and if their impact and usage is greater than the actual benefit. So for me, the center should be on ethical AI, now that we brought it up in these conversations, or ethical whatever technology will pop up later. Please. Signed from a tech user. Thank you. We close this episode. We hope you had fun staying with us and resonated with our thoughts about technologies. And I want to end our chat with a pseudo GPT quote. In times of Gen AI prompts, remain human and avoid brain slots. Thank you and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.